I want to jump right into it on what we talked about and what we discussed during our IVF consultation. Okay guys, we are at our appointment and we are super nervous, but we made it and it's still dark. As you can tell, Trent's like, oh, you can see me because we turned on the car lights. So how are you feeling, Trent?
Good. Ready to go to the awkward room.
He thinks he's gonna have an awkward room appointment today, but we don't know yet, but we will find out. But they think that you are, I think. We'll see, I guess. I'm so nervous. Genetic testing. So like I said, that guy came in immediately after our consultation with the doctor. He immediately came in and we discussed genetic testing. He said, I don't want to sell you on this because you're not specifically, this is not specifically for you. Like, you're not the specific candidate that we have in mind for genetic testing. There's nothing that points to the fact that you would need it. However, I did tell you guys before we went into our consultation that Trent and I did already discuss genetic testing. Previous to that, we were not going towards genetic testing, but now we are very much so interested in genetic testing. He showed us varying results from different people, and what you would think is exactly what he showed us. The older the age of the female, the less and less embryos that were normal were there. The younger, the more. But he did also say that if you had perfect embryos, which it doesn't happen, but if you had like all the embryos that they collected, if they were all perfect, then that would also be concerning too, because then why aren't you getting pregnant on your own? And that made sense to me. I was like, okay, that really makes sense. I understand that. So again, it just solidified the idea. The only problem I had with it, and I don't know if this would affect anybody else, the only problem I had with it is that if they are abnormal, then they will require you to throw them away. And I'm not talking abnormal like Down syndrome, because they will implant a Down syndrome embryo in you, or transfer a Down syndrome embryo inside if you would like that. But anything besides Down syndrome that's abnormal, that's an abnormal embryo, they will require you to discard those. And that is where I struggled. Not because I wanted to, I mean, obviously I don't know if you would or not transfer those, but that was a sensitive topic because it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, because what if that was on accident? What if they didn't spot it correctly? What if that was an actual embryo that had absolutely nothing wrong with it and you discarded it? That's where my head went. And he said there aren't any studies like that, because they don't allow people to transfer embryos that are abnormal. So there aren't any studies showing whether those were actually false diagnoses or what. So that does worry me, but I think we are still going to go with genetic testing, and we'll just see. If we do a fresh cycle, it won't be genetic testing. In order to do genetic testing, you have to freeze them. And so if we do a fresh cycle, those embryos will not have been genetically tested. So if we do a frozen cycle, which I'm still leaning toward, like, I'm still thinking that's what's going to happen, even though I'm trying to stay positive, I'm still thinking that's what's going to happen. If we do that, those will be frozen and those will be genetically tested. So he also said that that doesn't include the gender, but it doesn't have to. He doesn't have to tell us. We don't have to know. And so that's something to think about too. After he came in, then after the guy doing the genetic testing came in, then the guy doing the medical billing came in, and he just, I was on cloud 9 until that guy came in. And I hate to say that, but it was like an overwhelming, like, total sense of panic. And that's horrible to say. I know it's horrible to say, because It just is. It costs money. I know it costs money. I just, hearing how much it costs, knowing how much it costs, we know. We're not, you know, we've been looking at this for a long time. We know. But it just, like, all of it, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to process and the whole bit. So after seeing him, I was like, ugh, I'm ready for him to, you know, skedaddle, bye. Which sounds horrible. And it's just a realistic point of view. Also, my fertility clinic does not do anything with insurance. We do insurance. They will run it through insurance, but they will not check on anything. The first IVF clinic, well, the first infertility clinic that I was going to, that I had the consultation with before a year ago, they actually said they did everything with insurance. They told me what my deductible was, what my out-of-pocket maximum was, what they covered for cycles, everything. And this clinic just won't. They don't touch any of that. They have you call. They give you the CPT codes. They give you everything. They don't deal with none of it. And I thought that might be different after the consultation, but it definitely wasn't. They just, yeah, because he said 2 things wouldn't be, even with the best insurance, 2 things are not covered with insurance. He said the genetic testing and the IVF, or the embryo freezing and thawing. And so to me, I'm like, you have no choice. Unless you end up with like only 1 or 2 and you transfer those fresh, then that's the perfect world. Well, not 1 or 2, but to have a fresh thing, that's ideal. And that doesn't happen. I'm sure that doesn't happen a lot. So having to pay for the freezing, that just doesn't make sense to me. But that's what they said. So he said they don't cover the storage or the storage for the freezing and thawing, and they don't cover genetic testing. I understood genetic testing because that seems like an extra thing, which I always thought was extra, but that's what he said. So I had to call my insurance company after that appointment and find out whether they did or did not, and that will be in the next video. A nurse who just did my vitals and took down my medications and made sure all of that was like on chart and normal and all of that stuff. And then we met with the nurse that will actually be dealing with me and corresponding with me back and forth when I send messages to the doctor. She will personally receive them. And she was really nice. She just asked me if I had any more questions and stuff like that. She just seemed full of energy and full of life, and really just, yeah, I got good vibes from her. So that was exciting. And then she showed us to where they took the blood draw and all of that, and that went really good, I think. So then, and at that point, we did the blood draws for diseases and all of that stuff. So they did that for me, my levels, my vitamin D, my AMH. They did any sexually transmitted diseases for me and my husband. They did semen analysis. They did all of that. So, which they have to do for every single person going through an IVF cycle. They have to do that. So anyways, I know that was a lot, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We are going to continue on. So after the Prevera is done, then the next steps after that will be to get in contact with that nurse, and she will let us know the next steps, the birth control, and then the next steps for the injectables. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want any more content or have any comments to share, please comment those down in the comment box below, and we will see you in our next video. Thank you so much for watching.